What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Latin Explaining. My name is Denise Gonzalez. For those who do not know me, for those who do, welcome again, guys. It's so nice to be here on a beautiful Monday. I hope everybody is having an amazing beginning of the week. I know I have, and I hope everybody is staying productive. I see already that we have Jose, Morena, Rakim, Christina already started the chat. Thank you guys for being here. I know this is a very special stream that I am doing with a person that it's like family to me. And I admire very, very much, not only because of his talents as a screenwriter, as an actor, as a plant enthusiast, because of the person that he is. And I want to share how amazing he is with all of you guys. And I invited him here to discuss many topics, and mainly because of something that brings us together, which is the love that we have for our beautiful island, Puerto Rico. So, without any further ado, guys, I want to introduce a person that I love very much, which is I consider more than a friend, and that is the one, the only Jacob Fuentes. What's up, Jacob? What's up?
Hello, how you doing?
I am excellent. How about you?
Doing great. It's a nice foggy day, so it's kind of like nice to stay home and just chill out.
Absolutely. It's getting cold here in California. I don't know. I mean, I know I have a lot of people here that are also my cyber friends that love the cold, but as Puerto Ricans, we don't like the cold.
I'm having a really hard time with it.
Me too. Me too. To us, this is winter. Contrary to popular opinion, this is winter,
Yeah, it's
folks.
technically
Okay.
not. I mean, it's we're complaining a lot, but it's like what, like 50 something or 60 something, but it's like that's a lot to us.
Yeah.
It's not even winter. I can't imagine living in a place where it's like snowing.
Oh my God. It's snow to us. It's like basically holy water on a vampire.
Oh my god.
Okay. It's like trying to baptize a cat.
I know
You know?
that's ridiculous. No. No.
Oh my God. But Jacob, for the people that don't know you that are here, um, to see who you are in the interview, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
Well, basically, I'm a Puerto Rican actor. Basically, just studied and did my bachelor's degree in acting back home. I worked for quite a couple years before I moved to California to pursue the career over here. I took a master's in acting as well and film production, but I've mostly been like a self-taught filmmaker as well. When I was in Puerto Rico, I did plenty of short films that won awards in the like national festivals. Um, Pretty much, I was mostly self-taught. Um, and yeah, I mean that's basically it. I'm an actor. I Right now I moved to California. I've been living here for like 7 years total, I think at this point. And I work in a plant shop because I am a plant addict,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of like a nice spot to to be in and earn some money with a good flexibility in case something comes up in the meantime.
Absolutely, because we know that actors are not unemployed; they're just between gigs.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly, exactly.
And speaking of gigs, I know that you guys did a play yesterday. You just came from doing like this massive
It's
play
it was
that
a
you guys
short
put
film, yeah.
together. And I know you probably are exhausted, but the show must go on.
Exactly, yeah.
So, Jacob, one thing that, I started this channel mainly because of, the experiences that people like ourselves experience when coming into the United States. Either it's financially or because we made mistakes because we don't know the way of the land yet. We come from places in Latin America that, don't have the same systems that we have here in the US. And also because I wanted to share that journey with people and also bring awareness of what we can do as a collective to move forward. And one thing that I have focused on also is the politics surrounding our people, especially in Puerto Rico.
Hmm.
And just yesterday, I touched base on what happened with the mayor of Cataño and other different mayors in Puerto Rico that are involved in this corruption scheme, and it's something that, I don't know if you heard the news. I know you had the chance to
Mm-hmm.
read the indictment on
Yeah.
Felix Cano Delgado,
Mm-hmm.
and we discussed a little bit about what's going on and whatnot. And I wanted to ask you, like, what's your opinion regarding what you would say as a Puerto Rican that had to leave simply because, first of all, but let's start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Why, as as such a talented actor like yourself, you were forced to move out of our beautiful island to come to the United States to continue your career out here? What was your initial motivation to do that?
Well, I mean, the primary thing that made me want to go away is basically just because I wanted a change. I wanted um to try different waters, and obviously that it's not, the act as if you want to be an actor, the main industry, like the most work, the most opportunities are going to be over here.
Yeah.
So that's one of the primary reasons. But generally, unfortunately, acting in Puerto Rico is very difficult to break into. It's very not entirely sure how the English word would be, but like cuesta arriba. It's just like it's an uphill battle. Oh, that's it. It's an uphill sort of battle, more or less. Like
Yeah.
most, there are hardly. I don't think there's like any agencies. If there are, they're very very few. There are more like casting agencies
Mhm.
that you have to like get to know, and mostly the only work that you are able to get as an actor
Mhm.
is commercial work, which is great because commercial work pays really well. But if you want to like have a career, you have to be either like know somebody for who's already working, like one of the basically big five or whatever, those old acting actors that are still working to this day, and their children are continuing the work. It's just so closed, and it's very hard to break into as a new actor. Also education, I feel like I don't it's different things, you know what I mean? Like I can't say it's like education is bad, but like the education I received in college wasn't up to par to what I was expecting. It just, I felt like I graduated and I felt like I wasn't ready still to, if I went to go into a movie set. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that's
So I just
basically.
felt, yeah, so I felt like I needed structure, I needed technique. And in Puerto Rico, as far as I know, obviously I left Puerto Rico several years ago. But when I left, there wasn't like, you weren't taught techniques. You weren't taught like you weren't taught Meisner, you weren't taught Lee Strasberg, you weren't taught Stella Adler, you weren't taught a technique to work from. You were just taught to act for theater or whatever, or just film, and it was just very general. And I didn't like, I felt like I needed more training, I needed more more work done as an actor.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I had to leave. And thankfully I did receive it. I did receive like training on techniques. There's so much like places to go, like workshops going on all the time,
Mhm.
that teach you like a correct way, or just a way to act, and then you just find the one that works right for you. Where in Puerto Rico, I really couldn't find that,
Yeah.
and it's just so hard to break into the industry. I mean, I managed to work. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm pretty sure that if I would have stayed, I would probably have like a good decent career, because I managed to work with like one of the top working actors back home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I just like wanted a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah, and not only that, like it's not even that you were taught by people that are known in Latin America, well known in
Mm-hmm.
Latin America, which is how we came to know each other through one of
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes.
So that's what started our friendship. So basically, that's another thing that unfortunately, we can relate with each other, because my field is sound, and you know how it is, how the
Mm-hmm.
industry treat us in Puerto Rico.
Yep.
So basically it's like a guerrilla
Mm-hmm.
type of industry right now. And it's something that it's so crazy, because I was talking on my previous interview with the Lion Man, basically, when he went through every avenue, every single avenue, not only governmental but private, to
Mm-hmm.
actually go for his freelance journalism career. And they didn't have the money to actually help him with that. They didn't have any avenues designed to help him with that, and he had to start it himself from ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is, for the most part, is what every field right now is like in Puerto Rico. Because
Pretty much.
yeah, because look, my family, there's 11 educators, and they're earning underneath. I think that the highest earning one is my mom, and she's still making under $3,000 a month.
Oh, Jesus.
And she
Yeah.
has her master's, and she's on the road for her PhD, to finish her PhD. And you know it's something that it's insane. It's not livable wages. It's not something you can live up your life. And even
Mm-hmm.
if you get a second job, sometimes that's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you bring up the education system, and it brings me back to what has been going on for several decades with our education system, not only in schools from kindergarten all the way to high school, but also with the Universidad de Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
The University of Puerto Rico has been going through like a lot of strikes. And all the time is because they don't want to put funds on it. They want to, raise the cost of education for people. And it's not like this pristine education that you get out of also.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's crazy that, and I can even talk for myself, because when I was going for sound engineering, we had to sometimes even fix ourselves the equipment to be able to take a class,
Mm-hmm.
which at that point, it was beneficial for us, obviously, because it gives you a hands-on kind of experience while learning.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, that's not supposed to happen.
Exactly.
So, I wanted to ask you, because often people only hear me here on my channel, only hear me talking about what's going on in Puerto Rico. And what would you say is one of the biggest problems that's creating this, almost perfect storm, like a dystopia in La Isla del Encanto?
I feel like from what I experienced growing up over there, it's just money is not going where it should be. You know what I mean? Teachers are not getting paid, hence education is, obviously if you don't get paid, you're like, well, whatever, I'll just do the bare minimum because I'm not going to be paid to do extra, unless you're one of those teachers that love to work and don't mind doing it. But then I feel like the government and the system just takes advantage of people like them, and over time they just get crumpled down because they realize how much work they put into like whatever they were doing, and they were just not getting paid enough for it.
Yeah.
And like obviously like government officials just take all that money that should be allocated to do actual things, to either pay employee like teachers more, to pay like public school and public education more, for them to have like actual working materials and things that actually work. um so I just feel like there's definitely like money is going, it's getting funneled into the wrong places and not being put to good use.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And I, speaking of putting money where it belongs to, and I believe it was 2018. And this is something that, kind of felt like a bullet to a degree, because we know for a fact that a lot of people has been in entertainment in Puerto Rico, has been trying to push for us to unite and form something that's, basically like our Puerto Rican Hollywood. And it's not happening anytime soon, because we always get pushed back or sent to request funds from tourism, or be sent to the Corporación de Cine. And we know that's a rigged system. I can speak for myself. I was working, putting together a small production, a very small, not a very small, but like a film with like this micro budget. And it turns out that after we submitted everything that we needed to submit, it went to the movie 200 letters, to 200 cartas.
Oh
And
yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's something that I'm like, why would they need that? And the movie did not even do anything, because it doesn't break through in the American market, or even the European market or Asian market whatsoever. So eventually, it's kind of crippling the whole entertainment in Puerto Rico. But then in 2018, the former disgrace, your favorite governor, Jacob,
Uh-huh.
uh, your favorite governor decided to fund this American slash Canadian company called Sinclair to actually have a film district and, start in Puerto Rico and establish themselves there and start filming things using Puerto Rican crew and among other things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you think? How did you found out about those news, or this is the first time you're hearing it, or and also I want to know, how do you feel about that, the fact that our own government is backstabbing Puerto Rican industries from becoming great?
I it's kind of like a bittersweet sort of thing, because I obviously, I don't mind that foreign companies come, or just like, American or whatever company from other countries come into
Mhm.
the to Puerto Rico and produce work for us. That's not necessarily a problem. The problem that I do find, it's that foreign companies are taken as a priority versus as a secondary thing. It's like, you know what I mean, like, you
Yeah,
should be investing in our companies, in making sure that people who want to open like studios, or want to open up anything in like industry related, those Puerto Ricans should be given the priority to that money, and that people who come from out of state, like out of from the United States or whatever, they take second step. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I
yeah,
feel like they're trying to bring in people in, trying to attract Puerto Rico as an attractive place to, like, film and produce movies, but they're like, in the process, they're forgetting about it. Like, they're forgetting about us. You know what I'm saying? It's
yeah,
like having, trying to make sure that you're trying to adopt children, and you want to bring children into your like family, but then you're forgetting about your own children that are like suffering and trying to do things, and you're just giving all your attention to like people who just came in now. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I
yeah,
feel like that's a problem. Like,
yeah,
the Puerto Rican people should be taken as a priority as far as allocating funds towards filmmaking. Because if we start making more movies, then the industry is just going to also happen. Like, people will want to work with us, not necessarily take advantage of us, which is what's like it's happening right now.
yeah. Basically, our own government prostitutes us.
Basically.
Yeah, it's something that's so backwards, like, kind of like what we're seeing right now in the US with this people working for everybody but Americans.
Hmm.
Now, one thing I would say, I know you grew up in Carolina, Puerto Rico, and I had the opportunity to go with Melanated Night for the first time this past September. We coincided visiting Puerto Rico at the same time, by the way.
Hmm.
And I took him to Carolina, and I was surprised because when I left, Carolina did not look anything close to what it looks like today. How was it growing up in such an epicenter for so many different movements? Like, as much as people like to talk shit about reggaeton, but that is the home where reggaeton was brewed and mass produced for the world,
Hmm.
and that put Carolina in the spotlight today.
Hmm.
How was it for you growing up in that subculture that means so much to us today, and that we're seeing all around the world with people like Bad Bunny, Anuel AA, Ozuna, Daddy Yankee, etc., etc., etc.? Like, how did it felt growing up surrounded by the actual culture they were singing about?
Well, it's kind of weird, because like when I was growing up, I really wasn't listening to much of reggaeton. I was kind of like a rocker kid, but reggaeton was all around me. It's I it was just like, I don't know. I feel like my town is was an epicenter for so many things that I feel like right now it's just basically just gone. I know that I think, if I'm not mistaken, like most of the pharmaceutical industry was in Carolina, in like Old Town.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. It was just it was nice. It was an experience. You know what I mean? Growing in the middle of everything. Like, most of the my mom used to go to like parties and met a lot of these reggaetoneros when they were like coming up, because like El Caserío that knew a lot of them is was like, I don't know, like 10 minutes away from my house.
Mhm.
Um But yeah, it was a lot. Obviously, back then it was also a little bit dangerous. There was a lot of like shootings and stuff happening, and
Yeah.
you know it was just very rough. But I never actually felt unsafe or anything like that. I walked my like from my house to school and took the public transportation and everything. Um, so I don't know. It was kind of nice, I guess, looking back and seeing that I grew up in the epicenter of all of it.
Yeah, and you and also you live through the whole thing, which is
Mm-hmm.
something that sometimes when we see this seniors and all these kids now rapping like, reggaeton, we're like, y'all don't know anything, okay? We grew up
Yeah,
seeing
no.
these people like literally singing in like the most weird and questionable venues
Mm-hmm.
to be
There
on
was a lot of
mainstream right
concerts.
now.
I don't remember which. Well, I don't remember the name of a caserio, but it's like right next to like a McDonald's, and I remember a lot of the concerts happened there. That place was like
Yeah.
super. I think one of the one of the Daddy Yankee videos was shot in that like caserio.
I think that's the is that
I
the
don't
one that
remember
they're
which one.
demolishing now? There's a caseria that is being demolished right now.
I think so.
Um,
When I went past it, I think it was empty.
yeah, yeah. I oh my god, I don't want to say it's Villa. No, it's not Villa España.
No, Luis en Torre or
Torres de
something
Sabana.
else.
It's not
Torres de
Torres de
Sabana.
Sabana. Torres de Sabana.
I think
Torres
so.
de
Yeah.
Sabana is being destroyed right now, and it
Mm-hmm.
literally, if you follow Bad Bunny, which is the most recent, mainstream kind of reggaeton slash trap singers right now. I think he did a video with Arcángel called "Tú no vives así" in Torres de
Mm-hmm.
Sabana.
Most likely. Yeah.
So it's yeah,
It's an icon place.
yeah, it's an iconic place. I even saw this video that was circulating in like, Puerto Rican spaces on Instagram when this dude felt like, he was hurt and he went over there just to play a Don Omar song because like, oh my God, I need to honor what happened here. So definitely, that's something that, unfortunately, a lot of caserias are closing down.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it happening in Guaynabo. Now it's happening in Carolina. Carolina is getting gentrified,
Oh yeah, for sure.
left and right. I think it all started, and you give me your opinion. I think it all started with the construction of the Mall of San Juan. That was the beginning of the end because it's still considered San Juan, but it's like literally right before you enter Carolina. Do you feel the same way? Do you think that was the first step towards that, or you think it
Most
was something
likely. I
else?
mean, anytime a big American company comes, like there's definitely like a shift into the culture that's surrounding the place. Because you can even see it here. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
in areas where predominantly it was Latino or just like people of color. Once it becomes hip and it becomes like interesting, a lot of
Mhm.
white people start to move in and everything starts to like change up what it used to be. And I feel like yeah, that's most likely what was happening. Because like Carolina, it's also like unless it's very like, and I probably not a lot of people know, but like the airport is in Carolina.
Yeah.
So also the airport getting sold and getting privatized probably influenced a little bit into it. Plus you have Isla Verde right there, which is a very touristic area that's getting a lot of hype. And Isla Verde, it's also part of Carolina. So I think over time now that reggaeton, it's also a lot more popular, and people are just like, there's definitely been a shift going on in my
Absolutely.
hometown. It definitely felt
Absolutely.
different this time around.
Yeah, it did. I was like, oh my God. Like when I was driving through it, I was like, how Jacob must be feeling. Like this is not how we remember Carolina being. It used to
Mm-hmm.
be completely different.
Yeah.
And, but at the same time, I mean, I think, it was rep so much by so many people that also created, part of that hype. And people
Mm-hmm.
started paying more attention to Carolina.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think it's kind of like what I always make jokes of AOC when she's like the micro and the macro. Well, it's like the micro and the macro, the good and the bad
Exactly.
that comes with gentrification. Now,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I would say is unfortunately, in Carolina, it was a positive thing to a degree because it was also people from Carolina participated or benefited to a degree from seeing their hometown being put in the spotlight and evolve. But there's many places in Puerto Rico right now that are under gentrification, but at the expense of natural resources. We saw
Mm-hmm.
it happening with the outskirts of our national forest, El Yunque.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it happening in Playa Los Almendros in Rincon,
Mm-hmm.
when they were building this infinity pool on top of the sea. We saw it on Ocean Park when they're building. Literally, they underwater approved a permit to actually have that building, that's going to be a mansion right there in the middle of the sea with a private beach for these rich people that are moving in, gentrifying that area as well.
Jesus, yeah.
So what are your thoughts? I know you're a plant enthusiast, and you have literally, those are your babies. I've seen them. They're absolutely stunning,
Mm-hmm.
to see your collection, and you love nature, and you like to feel connected to earth in that way. How what are your thoughts when you see natural resources being demolished in such a mindless way, and with the lack of planning that is being done right now? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I just feel like it's obviously it's very disgusting because like we are living in a tropical island where the flora and fauna are like a primal, it's a very important thing about who we are. And just destroying our ecosystem will, like, I feel like we're living in a place, and I feel like that's more of a also generational thing that comes from people from like our parents time or like our grandparents time, that they just build on top of things without a consciousness about what's being done or how this will affect the future of like your children, or just like, you know what I mean, if you
Yeah,
build in places where you're not supposed to build, and you don't, or if you want to and you don't build it right, the earth at some point it's going to take over, as we've seen with past hurricanes. Like, the all nature and like plant life just basically takes a huge toll when we get hurricanes, but in like a couple of months it's back to normal.
yeah,
That just goes to show that no matter what we do, the earth will take power of what if what it has. It will try to take back ownership of what we're trying to take, and that's going to affect, if you build a house in like, it's like what happened in Miami. You know what I mean? Like, if you build something on top of a place and you don't build it right, it's going to collapse over some time. And now the ocean, it's also, the oceans are rising, so it's, the ocean has been taking a lot of the coastline, and us trying to fight it is just not going to work. I've seen so many countries where people just build alongside nature, and it always ends up being fine. You know what I mean? We just need to have a shift as how we're building, and try to respect nature as much as possible, because we live in an island. We don't live in a place where we can build endlessly. At
yeah,
some
yeah.
point it has to stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, and like I said, we're seeing it with the castles are being like like little chiseled down.
Mm-hmm.
They're destroying even caves, natural caves that have been there for thousands
Thousands
of
of years,
years,
yeah.
and it's like we can't seem to stop it. And one agency, something that I wanted to share, is that one agency that is in charge of doing that, and we have discussed it here many, many times, is the Departamento de Recursos Naturales, the DRNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I even encouraged, when the Playa Los Almendros disaster was happening with the infinity pool, I encouraged people and brought them the information to actually file an actual complaint with the DRNA in Puerto Rico, and we saw how it was stopped. But many people started questioning Machargo, which is the actual secretary of this department. He's the head of the department, and literally, thanks to El León Fiscalizador, the Lion Man that we had here, he collected a lot of pictures that I want to share with you guys of the state of the agency that regulates how Puerto Rico is being destroyed right now. And
Mm-hmm.
they're the ones that are supposed to use the resources that the taxpayers' money has funded to actually stop this from happening. And this is one, these are their literally their main offices in San Juan. I'm going to have it, while we're talking about this, airing in on the side, so we can discuss what we're seeing. He literally went in there, the Lion Man went in there and started taking pictures about how abandoned the vehicles are. And we're talking about dozens and dozens of official vehicles, a whole building. We have boats, Hummers. We have all kinds of machinery, trucks, trailers, everything just basically abandoned, all together with the building, as if we were in like what, the Walking Dead episode, like a Walking Dead episode. What are your thoughts on, the diligence that the DRNA is taking when it comes to like our natural resources, and how they're literally not lifting a finger, especially the leader Machargo is basically doing like a lot of corruption, because there's not a lot that can be done from a small level.
Mm-hmm.
uh what is the department actually doing right now? Like, what are your thoughts about this horrible administration of this department by Machargo right now?
I am not entirely sure what is happening. I feel like like, I don't know if they're actually getting funded how they should be getting, because most of these vehicles are giving to them by the federal government, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
And sometimes, like, some of the vehicles are just like lost because they don't have the parts, or they don't have the necessary funds to fix most of those vehicles. And after Maria, I think the big like damage per se, because I remember that building way
Hmm.
back when, and it was like, it functioned, it was fine. But then Maria definitely took a heavy toll on it, and they just haven't had the funds to fix it. I feel like this really does start at the very, very, very top. If the government doesn't give the necessary funding for these governmental agencies to properly allocate them and start fixing things, they just have to prioritize other things.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I feel like the government should definitely just keep, again, I feel like the wrong people are taking the wrong money and not using it for the right things. Because this government, it's like the only people can do only as much as they are able to, as with the money that they are given. And I feel like
Yeah.
the Department of Recursos Naturales is just probably not getting as much money as it should be. I don't know exactly how much the agency receives, and how that the person at the top is allocating that money. But I feel like all these things are just not being put into place, and you see that everywhere, though. You know what I mean? There are lots of like governmental offices that just look terrible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's basically what we were talking about. The same thing with the Department of Education. The same
Mm-hmm.
thing is happening with the police. I don't know if you saw the blue flu episodes that are happening in Puerto Rico right now, where whenever there's like a special weekend in the month, the police is doing a strike and closing down precincts and staying at home,
Jesus.
because they don't want to actually, they want to take their retirement away.
Mm-hmm.
They have expired vests, life vests.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have bicycles or horses, and that's what they're riding now the most, because the cars are
Don't work.
breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things. There's a lot of expired things that the police are working with. And to be honest with you, with the DRNA, the Department of Natural Resources, I think, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
if we're seeing from the head of the department, if we're seeing his disregard for actual natural resources, I can bet literally my left eye that somewhere along the lines, he must be embezzling that money somehow.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Yeah.
way in hell, because we know for sure that the staff at the DRNA is underpaid.
Mm-hmm.
Just like cops are, just like teachers are, just like every other department, that offers a public service is underpaid right now.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gets paid over $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a higher up.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, do you feel the same? Do you think that Machago could be involved with also some kind of corrupt scheme, or you think it's simply just the funding that is not getting there?
It could be a lot of those things, to be perfectly honest, because what we've seen, like the trend that we have been seeing for several years, is that all people in the higher ups, like at the very, very freaking top of the governmental
Mhm.
agencies, have something or other that are embezzling money, or people are taking bribes, or people are taking doing this and that. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like it's a definite possibility. It's something that we cannot rule out just from what we've seen so far. You know, if
Yeah.
the government is if there's so much corruption going on in the government, which we've seen people are, what you're what the governor of Catania just happened. You know what I mean? If that's
Mhm.
happening there, it's definitely happened everywhere else. It's there's no doubt. I feel like um from what we were speaking about, it's just there probably needs to be like an audit. There needs to be like a whole like revolt to a certain extent. Not
Yeah.
necessarily the revolt. It's not the right word, but there needs to be
An
like a
uprising.
shake up. Yeah, there needs to be a shake up of how things are being done, because the money is there from what we've seen, because like even
Mhm.
the Luma president is making an insane amount of money.
Oh
So
my
like
God.
if there's an insane amount of money rolling around for individuals, that money can be allocated for other things, to actually pay employees who are actually doing the work and putting in the effort into creating, into keeping the country running, not just somebody at the very top who just likes to sit around and not do anything.
Absolutely. And speaking of Luma, that's another topic that I have spoken about here like plenty.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen how the power goes on and off throughout the day at least 2 3 times for every citizen. Right now I just got off the phone with my father just before starting this, and he just told me everybody's just running their generators because there's no power. There's literally no power. And I remember when I asked my mom, do you
Hello,
want a
sorry,
mother's
I kind of
gift?
missed you. Give me a
Oh,
second.
sorry. So I asked my mom at some point, do you want a Mother's Day gift or you want a
Denise, can you hear
generator?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Give me 1 second, guys.
Can you hear me, Denise? I cannot
Yeah,
listen. I can't
yeah,
hear
I
you.
can hear you. Can you
Okay,
hear
give me a
me?
second.
Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna continue while Jacob gets his audio connected. But I just got off the phone, and to be honest with you, like I said, I had to. That was the Mother's Day gift that I gave my mother, simply because I knew that the power was not coming on anytime soon. Give me 1 second, guys. Well, Jacob is going to take care of some technical issues. While Jacob comes back, I'm going to continue talking about, what's going on with Luma. Luma Energy, as I discussed here before, right now we have Mr. Stansby, the CEO, is doing. Can you hear me now?
Yep, sorry, my
Oh,
bad.
no, no problem. That's technology for you.
Yep.
But we were discussing the whole situation with Luma and its CEO making $1.5 million per year in an island that's in bankruptcy.
Mm-hmm.
We have his CFO is making $500,000 a year, and every other executive is making at least $250,000 per year, and that's coming out of the Puerto Rican hardworking people's pocket.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Luma? Do you think we should have kept the Autoridad de Energía Eléctrica? Do you think we should have just put the money into improving the Autoridad de Energía Eléctrica, or we should have created a Puerto Rican option for it, or you think Luma was the way to better our power grid?
No, I feel like we should have like put the money into creating, like I am definitely for options, because like even here in California there are options of what like power company you want to use, even though they're not many. There's options, because if you give the power to just one single person, they can do whatever they want, and
Yeah,
that's very problematic.
monopoly.
Um, but I feel like, yeah, I mean, there's just like there needs to be the whole electricity. Hello,
Hello? Yeah, I can hear you.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
God damn.
He's gonna come back, but while Jacob comes back, I do agree with him. Like, I do think we should have had definitely more options when it comes to our power grid. but we're seeing I don't know if you guys are aware, but this happened in Puerto Rico before also, with a French company. I believe it was in the 90s. I think if Maceo or Ramon remember, but there was a French company that took over the water company and did the same thing. Okay, now we're
Oh
back.
my god, sorry. I'm just getting calls and it's I think an interrupting
Oh
the
yeah.
stream kind of like cuts you off. My
Okay,
bad.
so you
Yeah,
were
so
saying about the options.
yeah, I feel like there should be options, but like the whole electrical system needs to be fixed. And we had the chance when Maria happened, people were talking about having uh like solar powers being an option
Yeah,
for
I believe
people, which was great.
Elon
Yeah.
Musk did a he suggested that he wanted to help Puerto Rico contribute, but just put the Tesla lithium
Mhm.
batteries and stuff like
Exactly.
that, and they rejected him. By the way,
Of
the Puerto
course they
Rican
did.
government rejected him.
Of course they did. You know what I mean? It's like
No,
I don't
no.
understand. Like I don't understand all that train of thought. Like why? It's an island. We have endless sun. We don't have seasons. That's basically all we have is sun. Like I don't understand why that couldn't have been an option to try to fix it.
Yeah, I don't understand. And I was talking to the people before you came back that there was a French company in the 90s that did the same thing with la Autoridad de Acueductos y Alcantarillados, the water company.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically did the same thing. They came in to line their pockets with money and charge Puerto Ricans for everything and squeeze every penny out of us, and they didn't do anything. And I
Mm-hmm.
see that another Puerto Rican here from Puerto Rico, it's part of the Latin explaining family.
Mm-hmm.
He's commenting here lo que yo estaba diciendo, que la isla necesita opciones de proveedores de servicio. And he also said, sí, lo que pasó con Acueductos y la compañía francesa que no hizo un carajo.
Mm-hmm.
Basically after that they just left and left the water company worse than when they took it over.
Yep.
So do you think that's the same thing that's going to happen with Luma Energy? Do you think this is just to
Oh, for
benefit
sure. I mean, the dude is making an insane amount of money. That's just there's no reason why that man should be earning the amount of money he's earning. There's just no way. There's no reason whatsoever. He's earning more than the governor. That's insane.
look, he's earning more than Joe Biden. Do you know that?
That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah.
There's just no way. There's no way.
Yeah, and
I'm
they're
like
just
there should be options, yes, but it should have been a Puerto Rican born company,
now
not something coming from the outside. Yeah.
Now, one thing that we're seeing is that we have our governor Pedro Pierluisi, your second favorite governor, Jacob. Your governor what's so cringeworthy when he called himself a jíbaro.
Mm.
When he called
Mm-hmm.
himself a jíbaro, a jíbaro that loves the U.S.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yes,
and
darling, yes.
and he said that basically he at the beginning he was literally telling people, and that's something that I hate about this governor specifically, because
Mm-hmm.
he likes to just keep twisting the knife little by little, and you don't realize how much he wants to wound you. um he started by saying that if there was some stuff with the contract that's 895 pages, I only read literally 600 of them, and it took me months to do so. And in that contract, a lot of people said there's irregularities, there's a lot of things that are illegal, there's a lot of things that are going against everything that the law establishes for a power company, and also for an APP, an alliance between the public and private sector.
Mm-hmm.
And what he said at that time was, if the contract can always be revisited and changed. And when people started, asking him questions about the horrible budget that Luma Energy had for its corporate, higher ups, he basically said that there was no problem with that. You know,
Sure.
he basically said that there was no problem with that. And, among other things that we've seen Pedro Pierluisi do.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What are your thoughts about Pedro Pierluisi? Do you support him? Do you think he was our best option? What's your general thought about our current governor right now?
I don't know. I would say the best option. Maybe it was probably like the least worst. But I don't know. I just feel like there needs to be a change in the way that we're doing the parties and the votings. Just because like we need somebody who's going to be looking out for Puerto Rico and making sure that our country's best interests are being met, not necessarily appealing to the United States, which I feel like it's obviously because he's part of the PNP. They're looking to trying to be part of the United States and be a state. He's trying to find a way to like appeal to them and bring more Americans into into the like storyline, bring more American companies and just let them do whatever they want, just because he's trying to be like a good boy, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like he thinks that, and that's the sentiment of the new progressive party in Puerto
Yeah.
Rico. I feel like the sentiment is like the more we bend over for American corporations, the closest it will be for us to be living in like a state. But
Mm-hmm.
it's never happening, and they have been campaigning all these years with
Nothing has happened.
the dream of statehood, but we're nowhere near that.
Nope.
Now, I want to ask you, did you do you support statehood? Do you support independence, or you support the current status that we have? What are your thoughts on that? If you want to disclose it.
Yeah, I mean, I like for many years I was pro state. Like I wanted to be part of the United States because I felt like that was going to be the best option. But after living here for several years, I realized that that's never going to happen. The United States does not view people of color very well. Um, and they don't consider us, and we've seen it from like time and time again that we are treated as second class citizens. So I feel like if you don't want to let us in, fine, just let us go, because the current status that we have does not work at all. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I'm like, at this point, I'm like, just let us be ourselves. Let us be our own thing. Let us be our own country, and let's just figure it out. You know what I mean? It's going to be rough because from what we've seen, the current government, the current government is just allocating the money for the higher ups. Is there's a lot of corruption, but there needs to be an upheaval about it. We need to be as a country. The people have been very vocal about when we see things wrong, we call it out and we make a fix. That's why Joe was taken out of the office because we were like,
Your favorite governor.
exactly. And then we were like, no, we're not going to have this person here. He's not, he shouldn't be running our office. Bye bye. You know what I mean? And for some reason, people, I still can't believe he tried to be part of the La Cabaldilla or whatever that
Los
was.
cabilderos, the
Oh my
lobbyists
God. I can't believe
for
he was,
statehood.
yeah, I can't believe he wanted to be part of that when he
No,
was
they
just thrown out. But
allowed
whatever.
him. They allowed
Yeah,
him
I
to do
know.
so. That's the like my heart cannot sink any lower. Okay, it's just like
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, when are we gonna get like Ricky Rosselló is like herpes.
Yeah.
When you are forgetting all about it, he pops up back again. He's like that. It's like he's like COVID-19. When you think we're getting out of this, hey, here I'm back, Omicron variant. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
god. So one thing I want to discuss. So now you went from being pro statehood to now, what do you believe? Do you think? Well, you think now that we should be more independent and more sovereign,
Yeah.
basically.
Basically, yeah.
And I think that is the path for most of us millennials. Like all of us, and I'm guilty of that too. Like we believe that statehood was the way. There's no way that we could re-educate a lot of people into just not
Well, I mean,
depend on
you
certain
also,
things.
yeah, you have to think about also like when we were growing up, uh, it was a whole different time. Like the backlash that we're seeing now was not happening. Like Puerto Rico was in a good place financially, I think, for a long time when we were growing up in the
Yeah.
90s. Like there was a lot of money, there was a lot of buildings being constructed, there was a lot of things happening. And over time, we started seeing why, like the backlash of the things that we were doing, just started to show up. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
feel like we were blind to what was happening in the moment. Um, so maybe that's why we were probably like just like, yeah, let's just be a state, because why not? Like the United States seemed to be like a very good government, because everything was very superficial. What we were seeing,
Yeah.
we were seeing how great the United States, like, how not great, but we were seeing what a good financial, like, monument what the United States was, and the benefits that came from being part of the United States. But we're like, the face started to crack. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we are seeing the cracks of what the United States actually is
Yeah, it
right
turned
now.
into smoke and mirrors.
Exactly. It was
You
basically
know?
all smoke and mirrors. And that's what we were. And I feel like a lot of the political party that's going on, it's still sort of like they haven't taken that smoke out. They're still seeing what the potentials of benefits of being part of the United States could be. Whereas the United States is not in a great place right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The US is definitely not in a great place right now. So I don't understand why we want to be part of that. We should just be
That's
like our own country and just try to figure it out for ourselves, much like many other places have done at this time and day. Like
yeah,
even California, during some time when I was living here, they wanted to pass a ballot to separate themselves from the United States. You know what I mean? Even
absolutely.
even people who are actual people who are part of the United States don't want to be part of the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. We are seeing it also with African Americans and how they feel about their own country and how their own
Mm-hmm.
country treats them, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that we saw last year with the BLM movement, not the corporation, of course, but the movement per se, which is what moved a lot of us, to sympathize with what they were going through, because we also see it, they're doing it also to us ourselves. And that's something that I have brought up and I want to touch on real quick, because I think that a lot of times we hear from, not that they're any different from us, we're still the same people, but we live in different spaces and we have different points of view. But we
Mm-hmm.
see from our diaspora, conflicting ideas when it comes to how America sees people of color like us, Puerto Ricans, and also African Americans for that
Mm-hmm.
matter. If you compare their experiences to ours, it's almost similar. It's just that they are living post the civil rights movement, and we're living before civil rights movement. We don't have the right to vote. We don't have the right to even vote for people that controls our money now with the oversight board, la junta, that controls our
Mm-hmm.
money, our retirement and whatnot. So we are living before Martin Luther King, how African Americans were before Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have that confusion when it comes to like the way America treats our communities and how much in common we actually have with this group of Americans that have experienced the same things and know what's up. What is your take on, what we're seeing when we come here and we see that African Americans get treated just the same that we get treated in the island?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it, it's rough, because it's like, you see the disregard that the government is um the disregard that they are placing on them. I don't know, that's probably like saying wrong, but you know what I mean. Like, they're just they're being pushed into like the poor areas. They're being kept there. The money is not being put into like better education, which is, it's like, I don't understand. I don't remember who said this, but you keep your town, the public dumb, and you have control over them. So the gentrification and the zoning laws that uh, help like black people and people of color stay poor is just being kept in place by like white people and white supremacy, people who are benefiting from white supremacy over here.
Yeah.
And it's just it's tough, because when you come over here, it's like, oh, I guess we're not we're not treated that much different.
Yeah.
um you know what I mean? It's like, okay, great, I thought I was going to have better opportunities and have a better life, but I guess not.
Yeah, yeah. And I want to ask you in regards of that, do you think that our race as Puerto Ricans has something to do with the treatment we get, or you think that's just simply, you know, America just being America, or just, a random thing? Or you think our race has something to do with that?
I it's just, look, for us Puerto Ricans, it's just very difficult to say that race is the end all sort of deal. You know what I mean? Just because we come into so many different colors. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That we cannot really all attribute it to that. Just the fact that I think it's just the fact that we're like we don't speak English. We're not native English speakers. We're outsiders from that point of view. You know what I mean? So when we come into the US, I may not necessarily be treated the same as you would, for example, just
Yeah.
because you're Afro-Caribbean and
Yeah.
I am more white passing, but
Yeah.
I don't consider myself as white. But you know what I mean? I probably won't get the same treatment that you would. But when I
Absolutely.
do speak up and when I try to talk, if I like my accent is not super thick like other people have.
Yeah.
Um, but still like there's still sort of an accent, and I have gotten from time to time like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I can tell an accent. I'm like, oh, okay. And then there's sort of like a conversation about it, and we also get a lot of I've also noticed it from, because it's also tough because we get racism and we get colorism and like some sort of discrimination from the Americans, but we also get it from other people in Latin American countries, which can
Absolutely.
come with, because it can be fueled by maybe a little bit of jealousy or something like that, just because we don't have to go the same issues that they come from, like
Yeah.
come with, because we already are like American citizens. um so I feel like there's a lot of discrimination on that sense as well, because like people are like, oh, we don't consider you, like, I feel like our black ancestry doesn't get accredited to as much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, if I tell people like, oh, like I want to celebrate my black culture and I want to celebrate my African ancestry, people will kind of like, I imagine people will look at me weird, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, but you look white, like what do you mean you're not black, you can't really be celebrating that. I'm like, yes, 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 I can. You know what I mean? My mom's black, I just came out a little white. So it's like I feel like we go through like a different struggle to a sense, like people from Puerto Rico, because
Yeah.
we are so mixed and we are so intertwined and we have so many different cultures, and we upheld all of them. Like, we
Yeah.
honor our Spanish ancestry, we honor our Taino and native people ancestry, and we honor our black people industry, because that's what makes us who we are.
Yeah.
And I feel like over here in the United States, you sort of at some point have to choose, and it's kind of annoying. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I
Yeah.
only can, I guess, go with my like white ancestry because I look white, and I cannot partake in my like black ancestry roots, and or I cannot claim my native because I don't necessarily look native or don't have like a last name native. You know what I mean? Whereas
Yeah.
like we do, we're just as capable
Yeah.
to
There's
uphold all that.
not only that, it's funny that that you know me personally. I do carry a lot of features of an Afro Latina, and I consider myself an Afro Latina, and in this circle we have a lot of people that would call me white. Like, what the hell?
Okay.
Like in this circle we have other Latinos that basically will even tell you that why you're trying to please, like basically what they're telling us, because I feel like Puerto Ricans are not known for what we're supposed to be known, which
Mm-hmm.
is our culture. People don't know Puerto Rican culture.
No.
So
And that's weird
um,
because like it's not, we haven't been part of the US for like 2 years. It's been over 100 years. There's definitely like the whole popular culture is, we're
yeah,
everywhere, like
yeah.
in this day and age. There's just no reason why people who live here in the US shouldn't be aware of who we are and what we stand for, what we're about. There's just no
Yeah.
way. There's just no
And
way.
there's a lot of, we call them the slow taps, which is like a sector of our this is like our Latino sector of YouTube. And
Mm-hmm.
we have like this group of slow taps and Hispano taps that will literally tell you to your face, like there's no reason for you to not acknowledge your high admixture of Caucasian descent and just
Mm-hmm.
abide by that, basically. So, and that is something that has been seen on and on and on. They don't understand why
Mm-hmm.
we defend all of our heritage, a capa y espada.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't understand, like, oh, like when we say yes, I am Afro Latina, they don't understand that that's also part of us. And we're not going to look down on it, because unfortunately we have a sector of our Latino community that looks down on people of African descent.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically looking down on us too. We have African descent,
Yep.
and that's disrespectful to us as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically tell us like, oh, like stop pandering. They call it pandering
Pandering.
to
Jesus.
African Americans. I'm like, pandering? How are we pandering when we know exactly what they've been through? Because we're going through it.
Yep.
Like, that ain't pandering. And it's something that, it brings me to the question why people don't know what Puerto Ricans are. Why do you think we're not that known, even though we have been here since the 1920s?
I mean, there's people in the center of the United States that don't know where any other of the states are. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like education shouldn't be like, it's not like great here.
No, it's not. It's not. And I don't know if this has happened to you, Jacob, but we are, as Puerto Ricans, at least in the West, you find yourself in kind of like a social political limbo
Mm-hmm.
because, socially, people don't know where to group you
Yep.
as a collective, and politically wise, people don't know how to feel about you. Or you're part of the United States, but you're not. You're a citizen, but you're not literally a state. But you don't have to have certain obligations, but at the same time, you don't get all the benefits, but you get exploited in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
How have you felt that has affected your life or not?
Um, I mean, living over here, it hasn't necessarily like affected it in a negative way, like in a big way. It
Mhm.
has made it very uncomfortable. It has made it very just difficult sometimes to navigate and just annoying because like why do I have to be explaining this to other people? But at the same time, when you think about it, that should already be a red flag. You know what I mean? If the
Yeah.
people who live here don't know what the deal is with Puerto Rico, it means something's not working.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? If you can't easily explain what we are or who we are, then there's something wrong. You know what I mean? And I've
Yeah.
definitely had that situation happen with many people from like Latin America who are like who assume that oh just like oh yeah when did you come like did you have to get the papers? I'm like no we don't get paper like we don't need that.
Oh my God. There's
You
nothing
know what I
more
mean?
uncomfortable and hard to do. I
Yeah,
think
because
all
it's
Puerto
like
Ricans,
I feel bad. You know?
yeah, I feel like Puerto Ricans, for the most part, that have been born in the island, one thing that we dread and hate to do is go get our license renewed
Oh
or
my
our
god, yeah.
IDs. Go into the DMV and you feel like a fucking criminal because they take your birth certificate and cross-examine it against 50 different things, and you have to spend extra 2-3 hours in there
Mm-hmm.
like you're a freaking criminal.
Yeah.
And people just don't know these
Yeah.
things. The DMV.
Even for
Uh,
college,
yeah.
when I applied for college, and I was like going through the process of getting my student loans, they were treating me as a foreign student. Like
What?
they were just talking to me and giving me all the options that they would give a foreign student. And then like after a while, I was like, wait, this is not sounding what it should be. Like
Jesus.
we're domestic, like it's we're part of the U.S. We don't need to go through this. And I'm like, yeah,
Jesus
but like,
Christ.
yeah, it was like it's always been sort of that deal where we have to tell people, and we have that several times, like with the DMV, with the government agencies,
Yes.
with airlines at times, sometimes with like police officers. We have to
Yeah.
be like, no, like we're part of the United States. We don't need to be going through this situation.
Yeah. Have you ever been asked for a green card?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been asked
Yeah,
for a
me
green
too.
card.
Yeah.
Like, do you have a green card? I'm like, no, because no, I don't need it.
There was a Puerto Rican that sued the state of Georgia and won because he was refused a driver's license because he didn't have a green card.
Mm-hmm.
And he explained many times to the DMV lady, like, yo, I am an American citizen. I don't need a green card, but yes, I am Latino.
Mm-hmm.
She could not get it.
Yeah,
And
and just yeah, and like talking about on that since you mentioned that, when I just went from like I came back from Brazil, as you know,
mhm,
when I was returning from Brazil, during the line, people were talking in English to my mom because obviously when you show up your passport,
mhm,
um, you show your passport it's like an American passport.
yeah.
So they started to talk to her in English, but then my mom obviously doesn't speak a word of English.
Like
So
mine.
there was like a mind fuck there. There was like they couldn't like really handle it. So that I feel like they started asking us a bunch of questions and turning like we're like, oh, are these bags yours? So I feel like that did get us a little bit profiled
Yeah.
into it because they're like, wait, they have like an American passport, but they don't speak English. What's going on? You know what I mean? And it's like they don't understand that like our country doesn't really we
Yeah,
don't
we
like our
don't.
Spanish is the first language of it.
Yeah, and
So yeah, that was a little off-putting being put into that situation.
absolutely. It's something, like I said, we're in like literally a limbo in any space that we go. I see that Rakim here says, it's still people here in America that don't know that Puerto Rico is a colony. Some people are so ignorant that they hear Spanish and think other Latinos are Mexican.
Yep.
Shaking my head. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Have you been confused by a Mexican or Central American, Jacob?
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're all Mexican at the end of the day,
Well, yeah, we're all Mexican. Like Mexico's the only Spanish speaking country for
You know
sure.
what? I think it was around 2017 when when people would ask me if I was Mexican, I started saying yes because I really did not have the energy to explain to them that not everybody that speaks Spanish is Mexican. So
Yep.
we're all Mexican at this point, like
Yeah.
you get tired of being asked that question. I'm like,
Yep.
you ask me if I'm Mexican, yeah, I'm Mexican, whatever.
Yeah. It's like whatever. You do you.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, because it's just insane. Now, we've talked a lot about corruption. We've talked a lot about the systems in Puerto Rico that are falling apart.
Hmm.
Uh, and also we have talked about the status. Now, here in the diaspora, look, Ramon says that he has been asked about Mexican food.
Oh,
People
for
have asked
sure.
you,
I'm like,
oh
oh,
my
you like spicy, right? I'm like, no, we don't do spice. So what do you mean? They're like, oh wait,
yeah,
but you
but
don't
you're
like spicy,
Mexican.
but you're Mexican. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm like, we don't eat chile. We don't like it. No, like it. No nos gusta. We are the non-spicy Latinos.
No, we eat
Now,
spices, but no.
yeah. Now, one thing I would say, what do you think, you know, would be as a diaspora? Because we are forced to, be here either if you like it or not. We have to be here because here's where the opportunities are, as limited as they can be.
Hmm.
This is where the opportunities are at. So for now we have to camp here for a minute. So what do you think should be our next step in making something happen to because I know we have to get the junta out of the way.
Yeah.
That is our main goal. We have to get those fuckers out of our country. We have
Hmm.
to take
Get.
back our right to vote
Hmm.
for the people that rule us. And my thing is, what could possibly be a solution? What can we as diasporans do? If something that comes at the top of your head, what could be a possible action that we can take in the micro and the macro to
Hmm.
actually get the engine started so that we can get our people in the position not only that they were before in the 90s on our golden years, but better.
I feel like initially, like us as the diaspora, we should, have a little bit more involvement in local politics and like local governments. Because I feel like if we put pressure into our own government, wherever it is that we're living in, to take a look at Puerto Rico and keep an eye on, because like I feel like the farther away from the East Coast that you get, the less important our issues are
Yeah.
to the government. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
if we who live there speak up about the issues that we're having, we'll have people in every state, like every Puerto Rican who lives in every state, saying to the government, you should talk to like DC and put our word back over there so we can so we could actually have a voice, because we have like, what is it, those people that what's the name of them,
The lobbyists.
Jennifer Gonzalez, no, the
Oh,
Jennifer.
the congresswoman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so these people that have like absolutely zero effect
Yeah, literally,
on
she's a
the government.
non-voting.
Yeah,
She's a
she's like whatever.
non-voting member.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
she's a
like whatever. They
non-voting
have
member.
zero power. Nobody listens to them. But I feel like if we, the people who are here in the United States, speak up about what needs to happen, like we need to tell the government, look, listen to Puerto Rico. Either make them a state or just let them go. We need to tell our people in government in, like, be it California and whatever state you live in, that they need to pay attention to Puerto Rico and that they need to make a decision about what our status is. You know what I mean? We need to force them individually here to pay attention to us because they're not
Absolutely.
definitely not paying attention to the people who they should be, which are like Jennifer Gonzalez or whatever, who are the ones who are like actively working in the government.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you saw recently when because the same thing is happening to Guam. The thing is like we don't know a lot about it because
Mm-hmm.
Guam is only what 160,000 people.
Yeah.
They're like a speck in the on Earth. We
Mm-hmm.
were 4 million before. Now we're like close to 12 million people in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And people still don't know us. Imagine 160K. I see that Ramon says, Jennifer, la que siempre anda en campaña por la estadidad.
I,
Everything,
I
that's
know.
something that we have said that, everything will be solved with statehood, according to her.
Mm. Yeah,
Now,
whatever.
but, uh, but one thing I want to touch on before we start wrapping this up,
Mm-hmm.
is that, you know, with the whole thing regarding putting pressure, there are three main things, and I want to know if you agree with me. But there are three main demands that we should be doing. First is, get rid of the oversight board.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Uh, you know,
Yeah, we need to take control back of our own country, not have those.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Second, we need to demand that the federal government prosecutes the two major parties
Mm-hmm.
and does a RICO case on them because they are a
Yep.
criminal organization. I refuse to call them political parties anymore. They are
Mm-hmm.
criminal organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And second of all, I mean, third of all, after that is pay attention to our status. If you want a colony, you got to pay for your colony. If
Correct.
if you're not going to pay, then you got to let us go because you can't afford a colony.
Correct.
And do you agree with those 3 points? Do you think we should add one more item? What do you think? Or you think that the hierarchy or the order of those should be
I feel
changed?
like that's the beginning. I feel like that's the beginning. Like we definitely need to get control back of our country, take the La Junta out, and just basically everything that you mentioned is like the correct order. Because like at the end of the day, we first has to like have control for them, for then to tell them, okay, now let's sit down, and if you wanted to keep us, fine. We need to reevaluate this contract that we have between each other, because
Mhm,
like we have to take out la ley de cabotaje. There's a
mhm.
lot of things that are crippling us that are not beneficial for us. So that makes we cannot be a self-governing country and part of the United States if you are basically lackeys. Like we're not like we're not cattle
Yeah.
made to like what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, basically we have been like the cannon fodder of everything. And to be honest with you, like I said, with what we were discussing earlier regarding, the whole social political limbo that we are. It doesn't matter where we go. Puerto Ricans seem to always get the turkey's ass, in any circle, in
Mm-hmm.
any circle, and I think this is the start. And it's something that I wanted to bring someone, not that I'm discrediting the Rican diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to bring someone that was actually born in that place, so that because we actually lived through the consequences of what the United
Of what's
States did
happening
with
now.
us. Exactly. So, and we have family over there. Our whole
Mm-hmm.
families are there. The reason why we're here is the result of all the policies that we lived through.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we would have been able to have all the opportunities we have out here, I'm 100% sure we wouldn't have come here in the first
Oh,
place.
for sure. For sure.
So I wanted to bring someone other than myself, that could actually share the same sentiment that we all of us Puerto Ricans have, because of all the damage that we have experienced in the last 30 to 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to thank you very much for giving me your precious time. I know you're doing like 50 things at the same time. And like I
No
said
worries.
yesterday, I know you came out of a very demanding, play that you were doing, like a mini film and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And you still took the time to be here with us and, share your thoughts. So I
Yeah,
want to
for sure.
thank you for that. And, anytime, you're always welcome here on Latin Explain, or not explaining home.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So also, I don't know if the people on the chat has a question for Jacob, and type it in and I can ask him. But definitely, aside from what we have discussed today, I see that Jose says, thank you, Denise and Jacob. The interview was informative. Yeah, definitely, one thing that I want to leave this interview with Jacob today
Hmm.
is, it's time for us to unite. It's time for us
Yeah.
to, forget our differences. And I've said it even on the stream called Puerto Rico for Dummies.
Hmm.
It's time for even our diaspora to start getting in touch with the reality of our people, because not only natural resources or finances are being taken away, our culture,
Hmm.
as we're the living example that our culture is being has never been put out, and it's the little bit that has been is getting erased,
Hmm.
to the point that people right now doesn't know us other than for Bad Bunny.
Hmm.
So do you feel the same way? What are your last thoughts of today? And
Yeah,
after
I
that
feel
we're
like
gonna end.
yeah, I feel like us as like the diaspora that's living here, we should be kind of like, when you have kids, and at some point your kids end up taking care of the parents, we as the diaspora need to be looking out for our country. We left our country to look for more opportunities, and I'm pretty sure at least the big majority of us at some point have the hope to go back to our country. You know what I mean? And do something for our country. Like, I came here with the view of, like, I wanted to get educated, I wanted to create opportunities for myself so that I could have the name and the financial means, or just like, I needed something to bring back to my country, to make sure that it was better than what I left it. And
Absolutely.
like, we living here have, the benefit of voting for the presidency, and other things that probably people who live in Puerto Rico don't have. So we need to take advantage of that. We need to put our vote make our voices heard, make sure that people know who we are, what we stand for, and to pay attention to us, because we live here. We should be taking care of our country the way that people who stayed in Puerto Rico cannot, unfortunately. So it's up to us to make sure that we're speaking up for ourselves, and we're speaking up for the needs of our country, living here so far away.
Absolutely. We're the Puerto Rico's Avengers.
Yeah,
And,
basically.
basically that's the way I see it. And, it's something that as funny as it sounds, that's how it's supposed to be. It is the sentiment that I always love to share, not only with Puerto Ricans and diaspora here holding the front, but also with all Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's happening in different ways. The American
Yep.
empire affects all Latin America one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been a pleasure. I hope to
Definitely.
have you back here sometime in the future.
For
I want to
sure.
encourage everybody to follow my dear friend, basically my brother, Jacob Fuentes, on his Instagram, Jack Fuet. His Instagram is linked in the description below. Make sure you follow Jacob on his ventures, on his plant. He
It's
has a
mostly
vast.
plants. Yeah.
Yes, his plants are amazing. If you love nature, if you love to stay educated when it comes to the fauna and the flora in Puerto Rico, mostly the flora, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned a lot, and he even made me fall in love with plants, because he knows that when he visits me over here, I have silk plants. I cannot keep a plant alive, even if it costs me my life.
Ugh,
So
stressful.
he has changed that aspect in me. So guys, you want to follow Jacob Fuentes, like I said, his Instagram is linked in the description below. Thank you very much, Jacob. It has been a pleasure. Have an excellent night. Thank you guys for tuning
Thank you
in,
so much.
and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.